Can you understand that? Well, after this video, you'll be able to. I'm Nelson Dellis, memory coach and 6-time USA memory champion, and I make learning easy. It's been about 6 years since I made my last Morse code video, and boy, has it done well. After all the messages and comments and questions I've gotten about that video, I decided it was time for a refresh, a modern update.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Let's get into it. Now, here's a little backstory on the origin of Morse code. The story goes that Samuel Morse was away from his wife and he got a letter saying that she was dying. So he rushed back as fast as he could, but when he got home, she was gone. And as a result, he was dead set on figuring out a way to communicate quicker. And thus, Morse code was born. Anyways, I'm gonna teach you 2 ways to learn it. First, the quick and dirty way, which is just gonna be a way that you can write it on the back of a napkin and then figure out Morse code from there. So you can basically create a chart from memory that will give you all the Morse code translation abilities that you need. Easy to memorize, but a bit slower to use in practice. The other way will be completely audio-based. You'll be able to turn those beeps that you hear directly into the letters and eventually words, sentences, paragraphs, whatever. Now for the basics of Morse code. Morse code is made up of dots and dashes, or dits and das if you want to be in the lingo. Dots are very short, 1 beat long, and dashes are a bit longer, 3 beats long. Put different combinations of those dots and dashes together and you get different letters of the alphabet. Spacing matters too. Between each letter, if you want to make a word, you have to have 3 beats between each letter. 7 beats to separate words. So you can create letters, which then create words, which then create sentences, which then create paragraphs, and so on. Those beats are what give Morse code this rhythm. We'll get into that later. Let's just lock in the simplest way to memorize the whole system. All you need is this very simple and weird little story. The story starts out with an extraterrestrial, an ET, and his name happens to be Ian, just a regular old alien named Ian. And Ian, he's very open-minded, suddenly just says, sure. Then he goes into his closet and he gets some WD-40.
He's gotta oil something up.
And before he goes and does the thing that he wants to oil up, he says to himself, "K, go," as if it's encouraging himself to go do the thing. "Okay, go." And then for some reason he goes to use that WD-40 to oil up some high voltage frequency thing. I don't know what that means, but just remember high voltage frequency. But maybe he's putting the WD-40 like straight into his veins and suddenly he's jolted with this high voltage frequency coursing through his veins. Then he pauses to himself and then says, "Lol." LOL, as if it's the funniest thing that's ever happened to an ET. He then pauses again before then going to get his PJs on, and then he gets inside of a box, which is where ETs apparently sleep, I guess. And the box happens to be a size Q. Size Q. That's our story. Weird, but memorable. So what we've actually memorized here is the alphabet in a certain order. In some of those funny pictures were encoded the letters, right? So you had ET, that's the letters E and T. Ian, that's the I, A, N. Then sure, bit of a stretch, but it was an M for the part. And then the sure was S-U-R. He goes to get the WD-40, that's W-D. Then he says K-Go, that's K-G-O. And then the high voltage frequency thing, that was H-V-F. Then he takes a pause, LOL, that's the letter L. Then he pauses again, goes to get his PJs, that's the letter P and J. Gets in a box, that's a BX, and it's size Q. This is a bit of a stretch, but that's CYZQ. Now that's all 26 letters of the alphabet. And what that is an ordering of letter frequency. The most commonly used letters up to the least commonly used letters. Now with that letter sequence locked in our mind, we can then write out on a piece of paper or back of a napkin a binary tree, or a Huffman tree for all those nerds out there. Now, the way this tree works is you take a node at the top, draw a little circle here at the top. A binary tree, binary means there's 2, so at every node you just branch out in 2 spots. One to the left, one to the right. To the left is always gonna be a dot. To the right is always gonna be a dash, no matter where you are in the tree. If you go left, you're going dot. If you're going right, you're going dash. And we can just write the letters as we grow our tree down the tree, right? So I start at the top with this dot. I have a left and a right branch. This left branch is gonna be that first letter of my sequence. Remember the ET part? So E is gonna be the left-hand side. T is gonna be the right-hand side. I have ET on that first level of my tree. Then I draw branches from each of those two nodes, and I continue on with my sequence. What came after ET? Ian, right? And then what? Sure, right? So across the next 4 nodes on that next level is I, A, N, M. And then from those nodes, you branch out a left and a right branch on each of those, and you continue the sequence like this. S, U, R, W, D, K, G, O, and so on and so on. Notice that those pauses in my story, namely before the L and after the L, stand for gaps that are in the tree. Here's what the whole tree looks like filled out. Take a moment and see if you can draw that from scratch on your own. Remember, all you need is that sequence of letters, that little story that I told you. Now, as I said before, if you go down to the left side, that's a dot. If you go down the right side, that's a dash. Now, if you go even further down the tree and just trace where you go, if you go a left, that's a dot, and then a right, that's a dash. You can continue that pattern down to the letter that you need, and that is going to be the Morse code for the letter that you're wanting to represent. Let's say I had E. If we want to get to E, we look at our tree and we say, oh, we go to the left, but that's just a dot. So E is a dot. Same with T. If we want to go to T, we just go to the right, and that's a dash. And that should make sense because those are the simplest ways to represent a letter: a quick dot and a single dash. And those represent the 2 most common letters in the alphabet, the E and the T. That's the whole point for this, right? Is that when you're typing out something, the things that are most frequent, you would like them to be short. You don't want the longest expression of Morse code to represent the most common letter.
Perfect.
Let's say I want to go to O. Okay, so I see it on my tree here. I would first go down to T. Okay, so I have a dash so far. I go down to M again, that's the right, so another dash. And then I go to O, that's another dash. So O is actually a dash, and another dash. Dash, dash, dash. Now there is more to this chart that I didn't draw it here. That's for other special characters and even numbers, but we're not going to get into that in this video. Now let's say we want to figure out what B is. It's pretty deep down the tree. Let's trace it. So I go to the right to get to T, that's a dash. I go to the left to get to N, that's a dot. I see that I have to go down to D and B, which are both dots. So B is actually a dash, dot, dot, dot. Congrats. Now you know Morse code. All right, now we're going to get into method number 2. And this one is more conducive for learning it by audio. You know, you're going to be out and about and you hear certain beeping and you just know the Morse code for it. Now, getting fast at this takes a lot of practice. Early on, you're not going to have a very fast words per minute at all. But again, with practice, you can speed that up. Now, the way this is gonna work is that for every letter of the alphabet, we're gonna memorize a small little phrase that will have certain stressings on certain syllables. Short syllables will represent dots and longer stresses will represent the dashes. Let's start with our first letter here. It's gonna be A. And the phrase that we have to memorize for that is gonna be a shark, dot dash. The stress on the shark is a dash. The is very short, that's a dot. So A is dot dash. Now I'm just warning you that some of these are very weird, so just get used to that. But again, the weirder they are, the more memorable they are. Okay. On to B. B is Bob is the man. So dash, dot, dot, dot. Now it's important to memorize the stressing because that's what's gonna help you memorize the actual Morse code for this letter. Let's move on to C. This one is easy. It is Coca-Cola. Dash, dot, dash, dot. D is dog did it, dash, dot, dot. E is the easiest one. We remember it's at the top of the tree. It's really just a dot. So what I remember for that is just a very quick. It's just a dot.
That was easy.
F is next, and it's fetch a fireman. Can you guess what that is? Dot, dot, dash, dot. Dot, dot, dash, dot. Now I don't know what fetching a fire is, but it's helpful for these phrases to kind of picture them as well. That also helps to make them more memorable if you can try to visualize the thing in your mind. So for G, this is one of my favorites, and it's good gravy. Nice. Dash, dash, dot. All right, so for the letter H, continuing on is really easy. It's hippity hop, 4 short, quick syllables. So that's just 1, 2, 3, 4 little dots. Dot, 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 hippity hop. For I can just remember iPad. It's 2 quick dots, dot, dot, iPad. Okay, for J, I'm gonna think of Jaws the movie. The phrase is in Jaws, Jaws, Jaws. So it's dot, dash, dash, dash. Okay, K is a good one. That's kangaroo, dash, dot, dash. L is Los Angeles, dot, dash, dot, dot. M you can just remember as
How? Hold on, bro. How?
like something really delicious.
but twice.
which is just dash dash. For N, you remember it as nudist. Dash dot. O, you can remember as oh my god. Dash dash dash. P is a poopy smell. Dot dash dash dot.
Yum.
Q is God save the Queen. Dash dash dot dash. R, you can remember something rotating. Rotation. Dot dash dot. S, we saw before, is just dot dot dot. You can just remember that as some Spanish person really excitedly saying C dot dot dot. T, we just have a single dash. If you remember, it's at the top of the tree opposite the E. And so just a single dash.
You can think of any word like tall, for example.
For U, you can use the word uniform and say it like this, uniform. So dot dot dash. V is victory V, dot 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 dash. Another way to think about this is Beethoven's fifth, the V, dun 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 dun, dot 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 dash. Was that intentional, Beethoven, sir? W, I think of World War, so you could say the World War, dot dash dash. And so for X, we have X marks the spot, dash dot dot dash. Y is you're a cool dude, dash dot dash dash. And then finally, we have Z, zinc, zookeeper, dash, dash, dot, dot. So there you have it. Now you have that complete language of Morse code mapped out into your mind in a few different ways. But let's practice this. Let's try something very slow, maybe like 5 words per minute, and see if you can decode the following words. But remember that beeping at the beginning of the video? Let's start with that one. Maybe you can decode it now. Did you get that? Let's decode it together. R, E, M, E, M, B, E, R. Remember. All right, let's do a few more and see if you can decode them on your own. I'm gonna play a word at a pretty low word per minute and see if you can get it. Here's the first one. Banana. Here's another one. Genius. Now, there are a bunch of movies and TV shows and pop culture references to Morse code.
She kind of bumps along, punching holes like Morse code. Dit, dit, dit.
Sounds like Morse code.
Is that Morse code?
Tapper thing is from Morse code.
Still remember the Morse code?
And I would love to go through them all and kind of try to decode them or debunk them. Some movies actually pretend to use it and it's not Morse code at all, or they clip it and it sounds like it could be Morse code, but it's impossible as a viewer to actually decode it, or they do it for you. But there's a great scene in Stranger Things Season 2 where Will taps out some Morse code and they decode it. See if you can do it yourself. A pretty simple word, just here. Easy to do, right? Now, here are some other examples that exist that I think are worth mentioning. Now, first and probably most famously of all is the Mission Impossible theme song. If you remember, it goes dun, 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 dun. And so baked into the actual theme of the song is it's not perfect, but it's essentially 2 dashes and then 2 dots. And if you dig back into your memory, you know that 2 dashes is an M and 2 dots is an I. M-I. Mission Impossible. It's built into the song. How cool is that? Another example is from the movie Parasite. Great movie, where the guy is trapped in that room and he's banging his head on the light switch to make a Morse code message from the flickering light. Now, it's in Korean, and it looks like in one scene you can actually see the translation of Morse code into Korean. In the subtitles, it says that he's saying, help me, but the Morse code doesn't quite translate to that correctly, so it must be in Korean. Either way, a cool use case of Morse code without using the sound. Now, one last movie example, and it's a great one, is from Interstellar. It's that scene where Matthew McConaughey's in the Tesseract and he's tapping the book, and it makes her watch kind of flicker. So same idea there. She's noticing that there's some time differences between those pulses of the second hand moving, and she can decode that as Morse code. It's hard to tell what is actually being said here. They don't really show a full message. And actually later on, it shows her writing out a message. And I was confused by this because she just writes out a bunch of dot dashes, whatever, and there's no spacing between it. So that would be really difficult to decode because you don't know, if the first word, is it a dash or is it a dash dot or is it a dash dot dot? You don't know. Right? So you'd have to figure out like a puzzle what on earth is being said from these dots and dashes. Anyways, I tried to decode it and I couldn't really figure it out. So maybe that's also meaningless. All right, that's it for this video. I'm gonna give you one last Morse code as a way I say my goodbyes. See if you can pay attention. It's gonna be very fast though.
Hey everyone, Nelson Dellis here. Thank you so much for watching that video. And if you want a free PDF of just a summary of the entire video, I know there was a lot of information in there. I've broken it down so it's super easy to learn. You don't have to watch the video again. You can just reference this PDF on how to learn Morse code. All you gotta do is go to the link in the description and download your free PDF. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.